This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. What I'm looking at today is the first season of The Boys, an Amazon series. And it's not bad. It's pretty interesting. The violence is a little gratuitous, as it should be. Keep in mind, The Boys is based upon a Garth Ennis comic. Garth Ennis, if you're not aware, who's done stuff for all the publishers, as far as I'm aware. He's a very interesting writer. His work tends to be very dark in terms of humor as well as in terms of violence. And he meshes them very well together. And if I were to say there was a problem with The Boys, it's that. It's got moments of ultra-violence, which is interesting. But at the same time, it's not very cohesive. Events happen, this follows that, but it doesn't always make much sense. Characters' reactions to events, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, check it out, it's worth watching. Characters' reactions to events sometimes seem very odd and out of the blue and not at all consistent. There are various themes explored in The Boys, but there's no through line as far as I could see. Nothing seems very well planned out. It feels very simplistic, but it's a bit disappointing considering it's based upon a Garth Ennis work. It's well acted for the most part, but part of the issue I think is that each episode, there are 8 in the first season, is directed by different people. And when that happens, you're going to have different visual aesthetics, different perspectives. One person will not do the same thing as another person. So it just feels kind of roughly assembled. It's interesting to watch. It's well acted. Carl Urban is always good. I don't know if he's even capable of doing a bad performance in even mediocre movies. He always tends to stick out, and he does well here. But this doesn't gel. Events seem to happen because events. It seems very rushed as well, which is odd. Typically, the advantage of a series like this is that you have the time to space things out. Let events unfold in a normal, I wouldn't say leisurely, but a cohesive fashion. That doesn't really happen here. It's not a very satisfying watch. Now keep in mind something. I want to see season 2 of The Boys, but season 1 is just kind of underwhelming. I don't feel any real sense of cohesiveness. And I keep using that word, but it's the only word that I can find to describe what I'm experiencing. It's not bad, but it could be better, significantly better. One thing that would help would, as I said, if there were just a single director doing all 8 episodes. Just have one person do it. That way you have a cohesiveness of vision. Another thing I think would be important is to have some underlying theme to this. It just seems to be events happen. It's very episodic, or is it episodic? And it doesn't feel of one whole, really. It hints at very rich, dramatic themes, but it just kind of glances and dances over things. It doesn't go in depth to anything, at least not in this first season, which is a pity. The Boys is adapted by Eric Kripke, the person who did Supernatural as well. And you can see that in it, in the sense that if you saw Supernatural at all, what it tended to do really not well is to be cohesive. Now keep in mind, Supernatural has been on television something like 12 to 15 seasons, and it shouldn't have been on as long as it was on, by the way. And so this feels, The Boys feels similar to that, in the sense that it feels sometimes rushed. It feels sometimes not terribly well thought out. And for someone who has read some of Garth Ennis's work, that's a pity. And I guess the biggest problem I have with The Boys is that it's not terribly funny. And if you read Garth Ennis's work at all, I don't think you can get away from the fact that it's funny. It's darkly funny, but it's funny. In terms of the ultra-violence and the way it approaches its subject matter, it's almost comedy. It literally goes full circle. And this does not do it. This does not even get close to it. Well, no, that's not really fair. There are little moments. But on the whole, this does not even approach it. And most of those little moments tend to revolve around a character called the Deep, who's a bit of a joke. But he actually becomes more fully realized than just about any other character in the series. It's really odd. That being said, The Boys is worth catching. Judge for yourself. But I don't think it's nearly as good as it could be. This is Brian of ScreenFiles.com and Review. Peace.